afternoon to you, our cherished and discerning listeners. It's another beautiful and blessed Wednesday, and we are happy to bring you another exciting edition of your favorite business development program on Radio MasterClass. MasterClass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara, Iyedia. MasterClass is also powered by Lancaster University. They have the only British university campus in all of West Africa for a university. So if you're looking to further your education, please consider Lancaster University. My name, as always, is Yabanafo, and I'm excited to bring you today's edition of MasterClass. We were unable to bring you MasterClass last week because we were beaming the AFCON match live. Well done to the Black Stars. Better luck next time. For those who lost bets, better luck next time. We continue with our conversations today here on Masterclass. We started the conversation earlier on, week before last, on leadership. And we spent some time here with my very good friend, Mr. Martin Atafin, who's also the CEO of Afri Consult. He has the kind of resume that I always say is very impressive. Martin has done a lot of work, he was the Chief Operating Officer of Stratcom Africa at some point. He's done some work for GIZ, UNIDO, AGI, UNFP, Ministry of Food, Works and Housing, and a few other institutions as well. He's very well versed. He used to work with Deloitte West Africa in consulting. He's done some work for AngloGold Ashanti, and the resume goes on and on. So clearly we are in very good hands this afternoon, and we're going to be looking at the conversation on leadership. We can never fully exhaust the conversation on any topic when it comes to management, because the different perspectives and the different occurrences in our experiences every day sharpen us and make us learn more. I always say that life is too short to make all the mistakes ourselves, so therefore we learn from other people. Earlier on, Taka, I think about 2 years ago, Taka Awori had the same conversation with us, and it was a beautiful conversation. Taka, good afternoon to you if you're listening to us. But Martin, today when I saw your slides for this show, a lot of slides, a lot of information. I'm excited because people get pro bono information here on Masterclass. Information you would have hitherto had to pay for and get certified for, but Joy FM says we give it to you for free because we cherish your custom. And so we're going to be sharing a lot of information today. We're also streaming live on Facebook for those of us who like to take notes. So by all means, follow us on Facebook and make some notes. The slides will be shared on that as well. At some point, we'll get interactive, and then we'll take your phone calls and comments. I'm excited that we're back here. Morning after we lost our game to Comoros. I'm not even going to go into that. Coming onto the set, a few of my friends have lost some bets, so but some are also collecting. Leadership. Let's talk about leadership. Last week, we spent some time talking about leadership. We introduced the conversation, a different aspect of it, if you like.
Yes.
And sometimes leadership is like one of those conversations we had with like project management, where at the end of the session, the resource person made it look like everything is a project, including marriage.
Absolutely.
Relationships. Now, if you look at leadership, you will think that everything is somewhat affected by leadership. It's the biggest conversation in our country today, in various fields of endeavor, in our companies. But we're talking today to our business owners, to our entrepreneurs. Those are the people who are dear to our heart. It is because of you that we put together this show. We spoke about conscious competence, unconscious competence, and the reverse. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. But let's continue that conversation, do a bit of a recap if you like, and then let's go straight into today's conversation. Today, I believe we'll be looking at the styles of leadership, which ones are, should I say, preferred for which situation, and which ones are not preferred for which situation. I was going to give the quote by Alexander the Great, but I will save that for when we get interactive. Martin, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Yao. Thank you very much. I was smiling when you said, well done to the Black Stars. That's leadership. That's leadership.
I mean,
you're
those guys,
actually encouraging them to do better.
No, they tried.
Yes,
they tried.
absolutely.
I
They
mean,
did their best.
Some of my friends who are complaining, they don't play football. They should. Abeku and Co, they should keep quiet. They don't play football.
Yes. No, they did what they could do, the circumstances. So, in fact, the next time, I think they'll do better.
Yes,
I
think so too.
We've all learned our lessons. Yes. Okay, great. So, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yesterday, somebody was telling me that Masterclass is actually an MBA class. Wow. Because what he learns on Masterclass every time, put together, he should be able to get an MBA certificate. So, well done.
Maybe, at some point, maybe Joy FM will begin to look at certifying this course with some academic institution. You never know.
You never know.
And then maybe you will become a resource person in the academy as well.
In the academy. Anyway, so let's talk leadership.
Yes.
Yes. Last week we tried to introduce leadership. We talked about the fact that a lot of companies are overmanaged and underled. because there are many more managers than there may be leaders. So we try to differentiate what leadership is from what management is, and we say that leadership is about influencing and getting people to believe in your vision, and then for you to achieve your goals. And then we said management is more about administering and making sure that the day-to-day tasks are done. Yes. So we refer to Colin Powell, who said that leadership is the art of accomplishing more than what the science of management says it's possible. So we went further to look at the critical leadership roles. We said that a leader has to be a mentor and coach, because you have to build and foster the next generation of leaders and mentor those who are under you. A leadership has to be a relationship builder. You need to build relationships not only with your team, with also your clients, your stakeholders, your colleagues. A leadership has to be an innovator, because you need to think on your feet and innovate to be able to get people across the Jordan. A leadership has to be a communicator. When you have your vision and you've crafted it, you need to communicate it in such a way that everybody will be able to tap into it. And you should be a decisive and a decision maker. Make decisions when there are tough choices to make, so that your organization can move on. And a leadership, particularly in present times, has to be a global citizen. Understand what is happening globally, guide your organization to be able to appreciate and tap into the global world. So after that, then we broke it down into 4 key areas where we say we talked about leadership effectiveness. For leadership to be effective, there has to be vision created, commitment developed, results achieved, and then the last bit, which is very important, and it taps into what we are discussing today, is developing yourself. A leader needs to, in fact, self-develop.
Add value to yourself.
Add value to yourself consistently. Continuous learning, growing your career, and also soliciting information from others to be sure that you are actually going the right direction. So, in a nutshell, that is what we discussed.
So that sort of set the tone for the conversation. I mean, before we go straight into what we are doing today, one of the things that stuck with me as you spoke, that stands out for me strongly, is the ability of a leader to communicate. And if you're listening to us, you're a business owner. You know, sometimes we let pride get in the way, especially if you are also the owner of the business and you're also the CEO. Today, there's a lot of skill for hire. You don't have to be the jack of all trades. You don't have to be the one who's doing everything.
Absolutely.
So if you have put together your plan, today people pay people to do their strategies for them.
Absolutely.
When you've done that, in communicating it, when you talk to me and I don't hear your heart, I haven't heard you. You haven't communicated. You say, I told them, I wrote to them, I told them, they started in training. You spoke to them. Maybe you spoke at them. You didn't speak to them. There's a difference.
Exactly.
You were talking over their heads.
Exactly.
But people are skilled to communicate. Leverage on that as a business owner for growth.
For growth, absolutely. And you need to consciously be aware of the value proposition, the employee value proposition. Because for them, like you said, if they are not connected with their hearts, employees are not connected with their hearts and their minds, they are not doing their work. They will just work like zombies because you're asking them to do it. They'll do it. So how do you communicate for them to connect with their hearts?
There's this quick joke I'll just share, then we go straight into today. So a mother's dressing up a child for school, and he keeps getting up. He says, sit down. Every time he gets up, he says, sit down, and let me dress. Sit down. And he keeps getting up. So one time the child stands up, and he hears the child say, sit down and let me comb your hair. So the child sits down. After 2 minutes, he says, Mommy. He says, what is it? He said, even though I'm sitting down, in my heart, I'm standing.
I like that.
I think that's the best example of not communicating to an employee,
to an employee.
And thinking you can use force.
Absolutely.
What are we doing today? Let's go straight into it.
Today we are talking about leadership styles.
Right.
You know, that is the leader's characteristic behaviors when you are directing or you are motivating or you are influencing people to achieve a certain goal. What is the dominant behavior that comes out? That is your leadership style. Now, some of the leaders, there's a dominant part of it that makes you be called or be labeled a certain particular type of leader. However, even that type of leader sometimes get opportunity to exhibit other styles depending on the situation in which he finds himself. There are several leadership styles. In fact, if you research, you find loads of them. I can mention a coach who is kind of motivational, a visionary leader who is progress focused and inspirational, a servant leader. Last week we talked about servant leadership, who is humble and then allows other people to be able to take leadership roles in the organization. The autocratic leader who is like, do as I say. The laissez-faire leader we mentioned the last one, who pretty much leaves the leadership to everybody else and does not want to hurt anyone. Democratic leader, the pace setter, who tries to set a pace and then pushes people to achieve it. We have the transformational leader, who is challenging, who is communicative and wants to transform not only himself, the organization, and the people in it. The transactional leader, who is more performance focused and performance oriented. And then you have the bureaucratic leader, who looks at things more on a hierarchical level. Because I am at this level and somebody is below,
you can't talk to me like that.
You can't talk to me in a certain way. So those are just 10 of them, but there are several that you can deal with. I will speak to about 4 of the areas because of time, so that we can drill down into other areas that are also interesting and exciting.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll speak to the autocratic leader, a leader that makes decisions without reference to anyone. You know, that's the kind of leader, that's the kind of person the autocratic leader is. And you find that in such a situation, there's high dependency on that kind of leader. In a situation like that, you can see that the staff gets alienated and become a bit demotivated, because they won't do anything until he comes and says, because if they do otherwise, they might just be in trouble. It might not be a very good thing, but it might be valuable in some businesses where decisions need to be made quickly and people need to be driven to do the work that they have to do. And then we can still talk about the democratic leader, who actually encourages consultation, and if he has to drive some work to be done, he will look at persuading people, so he's more persuasive, and he allows workers to feel kind of an ownership in the organization. That helps to improve ideas and experiences. However, decisions can be delayed because you have to go around for everybody to accept and be part of it before you do some work. So that can be a bit challenging there as well. And then we have the laissez-faire leadership, or free rein leadership. In fact, that is non-leadership, because you're not actually leading. This is the kind of leader who abdicates authority and responsibility to others, and that can create chaos.
Would this be the leader who leads from the back?
I'll say sometimes even the servant leadership leads from the back. The laissez-faire leadership doesn't even lead.
He doesn't lead at all.
Basically, he's there in name. Everything else is being done by somebody else. He won't challenge anyone. He will just stay put and allow people to do what they have to. In fact, you have derelicted your leadership. So because of that, there's there'll be role ambiguity in the organization. There is somebody who is a leader in name, but there's somebody who is a leader in action. And therefore, the goals are not clearly defined. Responsibilities and outcome becomes a challenge. And you find a lot of the time there's a higher personal conflict in that organization.
Right.
And then there's an interesting part that I wanted to raise. It wasn't in a 10 that I mentioned. This is the paternalistic leadership. A dominant authority figure who acts like a patriarch or a matriarch, a mother. You get into some organizations and they call in the leader their daddy and mommy.
That's a father and mother, everybody.
Exactly. So treating employees and partners as though they are members of an extended family, and they expect loyalty and trust. And you go to an organization, maybe even a 60-year-old employee is calling the 30-year-old leader daddy, and that kind of thing. So I mean, those are 4 of some of the leadership styles that we can speak to. But it is, like I said, it is the dominant part of your style that actually is projected, and then you see it that way. For someone to have a certain leadership style, Deepak Chopra indicates that followers and leaders co-create each other. So the way the followers behave allows the leader to behave in a certain way, and then the way the leader also behaves allows the followers also.
That's actually
to
very
live in a
profound.
certain way.
Please repeat that again. Followers and leaders co-create each other.
Absolutely.
And that's matter of course.
That's a matter of course. Absolutely. So the leader needs to influence the followers to deliver on a certain goal. Between the leader and the follower, the influence bit is where the style shows up.
Would it therefore be correct to say that if you do not like the kind of followers you have, it's possibly a reflection of the kind of leadership you're giving out?
It's possible.
And vice versa.
It's possible.
If you're a follower or an employee who says, my boss doesn't listen to anything, he's always making decisions alone, he's always doing that, it's also possible that you are partly responsible for that kind of, I'm not saying wholly, but you are partly responsible for that kind of leadership he's exhibiting.
Absolutely. You know, a job needs to be done. They are followers, they are leaders. The followers are either willing to do the job or unwilling to do the job. The followers are either able to do the job, they have the capability to do it, or they don't have the capability to do it. So if you put that in a certain kind of a matrix, you will find that there are those who are able to do the job, but they are unwilling. What will the leader do? The leader has to be supportive and participative to be able to bring them along because they are unwilling. But there are those who are able to do the job, but they are willing to do it. Such a person, you monitor. You give him the task, monitor him to be able to deliver it. But then when you come to those who are unable to do it, there are those who are unable to do it, and they are still unwilling to do it.
Even if I knew, I won't tell you.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
So you direct the person, take this thing, put it here, sit down, go there.
You need to micromanage.
You need to micromanage because he's unwilling to do it, so you make sure he does it. And he does not know how to do it or unable to do it either. So you have to micromanage, and that is a lot of work for you. But the part that we might even want to drill down is where the person is unable to do it, but he's willing to do it. Then over there you actually have to provide create a situation where there's task and relationship orientation. Relationship meaning that spending more time with the employee, getting him to be able to build the capability to do it, and then also giving him tasks that will allow him to build those capabilities to do it. So task and relationship orientation. So when you drill that one down a little bit, you can look at how much people orientation or how much task orientation that would bring out a certain kind of style. Okay, so if someone has, and let me put it this way, your leadership style can either be effective or ineffective, depending on the situation.
Right.
Okay, so you can actually get into a certain situation where, you can get into a certain situation. My style will be ineffective, but your style that you would use will be effective in that same kind of situation. So let's say we are looking at a situation where I need to provide people and task orientation. Okay, if I provide more people orientation than a high people orientation and a low task orientation, okay, there are leaders who will go in with we'll call it a missionary style. I'm here to care for you, because they are looking more at the people. They are more concerned about the people than the work, that kind of thing. So you find that the work suffers because he's spending time on the people. You're just a missionary, you're selling ice cream. Okay. And then there's a situation where there's low people orientation and low task orientation. That one, the leader, the ineffective leader will be a deserter. Because you have low orientation for people, you have low orientation for the task.
Team. You're not
You
there.
are deserting the team. You are deserting the work. You are deserting the people. So that is where the laissez-faire leader shows up. Okay, and then a situation where there's high people orientation, high task orientation. The ineffective style will be when you are a compromiser. You are compromising. Say, let's meet halfway. So that even though there's high people orientation, you are not actually pushing to get the job done fully. And then the autocratic leader comes when there's a high task orientation and then low people orientation. They don't care about the people. They just want the task to be done. But when we flip it, it can be effective. In a situation where you have a high people orientation but a low task orientation, you can be a developer. Mentor the person so that he'll be able to deliver on the task. If it is a low task orientation and low people orientation, instead of being a deserter, it can be, look at it from the bureaucratic perspective. This is how our structure is.
Process driven.
Get the work done, And then when it is a high task orientation and a low people orientation, you become, an autocrat, but a benevolent autocrat. Those are the people who would get you to do some work and you're wondering, how did I get to do this? He tells you to do something in a very nice way and you want to refuse, but you're unable to refuse.
You agree before you
can
realize
say,
what
absolutely. And there are some people who are very good at that. Of course, the ideal is the executive who will look at it and say, this is good for you. Let us do it. It is good for you. It's good for the company. Let's all come together and build. Those are the high people orientation and high task orientation leadership. So those are the styles that pops up that will be more effective than the first one that we discussed.
Right.
But for me, my preferred style is the facilitative style. It doesn't fit in all of this, but it helps in all the situation. The facilitative leaders coach, they mentor, they sponsor, they teach, they lead. So you actually facilitate people to the point where they will deliver what they will have to do. And so you have to develop some facilitation skills. And if you teach, if you train, facilitation is different from teaching. Teaching is talking at them, as you mentioned. Facilitation is inspiring them to be able to do it so that they can with them, so they can learn. So because ultimately, the others must have to trust you, they must have to have faith in you, and believe in you, and then they will end up doing the work. At the end of the day, they will come back and say, "We did it ourselves."
Exactly.
But you, the leader, knows you actually drove them.
You had to guide them to do it.
Absolutely.
Impressive. So much information here. We'll still share a bit more before we get interactive. This is Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We're spending time here with Mr. Martin Atafin, CEO of Afri Consult, and we're sharing some thoughts on leadership. We'll be coming to you shortly to get your ideas on what kind of leadership style you're using to run your company or your business. Oftentimes, we talk about different styles of leadership, but one thing he said this afternoon that is staying with me is that we should not make choices of the styles of leadership in isolation. It should be mapped directly to the situation that you're running. And therefore, depending on the kind of industry you're in, if you're in the manufacturing industry, your style of leadership should be different. If you're in an office industry, your style of leadership will be different. If you're in an engineering industry, it will be different. Depending on where you are, there is a preferred set of leadership styles that one should adopt.
Absolutely.
Let's share a few more thoughts before we get interactive.
Absolutely. Yes. So just as you're saying, depending on what is to be done and who you're leading, so that situation would help, and then your dominant style will come out. So even as you want to do that, you need to understand yourself and know yourself, understand where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, to be able to build yourself, to be able to lead the people that you're leading. So I'll speak a little bit about the Johari window. I can say that take a situation of a horse. It is definitely difficult for you to sit on a horse every day, for the horse not to have an opinion of you. The horse would know you are light or you are heavy. You are the ones, if you want to ride this direction, if this man sits on me, he pulls the rein too tight. This one doesn't pull the rein at all. This one kicks me in the rib. The horse has an opinion on you.
By the time you sit on that horse 3 times, they know.
They know, so they know the difference. And also, it is also possible that you will sit on a horse every day and not have even one opinion about the horse, and not know have any thought about it. Just a horse. Take me here, and the person. So that is how.
Which is what most people do when they drive their cars. They don't check
whether there's oil, whether there's water. They just move, and that is how some people work with their teams. Their teams have opinion of them, but they don't really know or care about them, about the team. So it's important for you to consistently find a way to check. If it is not measured, it is not done. check, to see where do you sit with the leadership. What is the opinion of people? So you have to find different tools that helps you to measure it. But one of the things that I can talk about is the Johari window. Because today I'll say, leader, know thyself.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Johari window allows you to look at things, your biases and your unconscious biases, and be able to drive it, for you to be able to drive your leadership, what do you call it? Your leadership efforts. Okay. So, with everyone, there is stuff about yourself that you know, and then there's stuff that you don't know. And then there's stuff about you that others know, and there's stuff about you that they don't know.
They don't know.
And then there's stuff about you that others don't know, and you also don't know at all. And depending on which window is bigger, you operate in a certain way, and that also impacts on your leadership. Yeah. Okay. So for example, the ideal Johari window is when the larger window is what is known to you, and then what is known to others is large, is heavy. So that what is unknown to you is small, what is unknown to others is also small, and what is unknown to both of you is small. That is the ideal window.
You minimize the shocks and surprises.
You minimize the shocks and surprises. Such leaders are open, they are non-defensive, they are self-aware, they are willing to share information and thoughts and feelings. So they are transparent. They are open to, but it's just that when you overdo it, people see you as naive because they expect a leader to be a bit more mysterious. Speak very little.
Listen a lot.
Exactly. So then you find that the next window will be when the leader actually, and that's a lot, we have a lot more of that. What you know about him is very little. The public knowledge is little, and the private knowledge is huge. So others don't know much about him. The things he does is mysterious to them. What is unknown to himself is also small, and then what is unknown to both of you is also small. So he knows about himself, but the public does not know much. That is more like a facade pain. Okay, and for me, I think that his fears do not allow for testing views of information in public. So what he knows, he does not want to put out.
Because he doesn't want to go into uncontrolled
situations. He just wants to keep everything to his chest. Such leaders, they ask questions but withhold their own information, their own interests, their own needs. And the challenge here is that without exposure and challenge, your views become outdated. So you are not able to develop very quickly. You don't want anyone to challenge you. And then the next one we will consider is we call it the bull in the China shop.
When I saw it, I was smiling to myself.
The bull in the bit that is unknown to himself is huge, but known to others. That is a blind spot. Normally when I speak to this, I give an example of I was driving somewhere. I was turning a bend. I was comfortable. I thought I could turn. And there were people there shouting, hey, stop. And then I asked them what's going on. They said, I was just about to fall into a big gutter.
Yes.
But I couldn't see. My windows did not tell me. My mirrors did not tell me. I didn't see it myself. But they saw it. That is known to them, but unknown to me. And if you turn that bend without knowing, then you are going to fall in a ditch. Yeah. So with such leaders, they appear evasive. They don't even want to listen, even though they don't know the stuff. They are wondering why people keep telling them this is the situation, and then they try to defend themselves all the time. And then the last one is when what is unknown to yourself and unknown to others is big. So there's a lot more about you that you don't know yourself, and a lot more about you that others also don't know. So they are unaware of what should go on next. Such leaders do not even give out information because they don't have the information about themselves and how people can react to them, and they appear to have a shell around them. So really, this is a leader You because you don't know much about him, you think he knows what he's doing and he's driving, but he may not.
He may be empty.
He may be empty.
So much more to share. It's 2:00 here on the show. I want to get interactive so that our listeners can also be a part of the show, ask some questions so that we can make it relevant. Because the data we share here is not only theoretical, but we want to make it practical so that our listeners can also practicalize it in their fields of endeavor. We'll take a quick message from our sponsors. When we come back, we get interactive.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business MasterClass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on the Superstation Joy 99.7. I'm here on the show on Masterclass with Mr. Martin Atafin, CEO of AfriConsult, and we're discussing the topic of leadership. We've talked about leadership styles today and different perspectives on leadership that I'd never looked at before. We've just discussed the Johari window. We always want to make it practical, so we're bringing it back to you. What is your style of leadership? Are you just choosing the styles in isolation, or you're choosing them in context with a situation that exists within your company? What is leadership based on your understanding? Did you know that the way your followers behave is a direct reflection of the way you lead? As a follower, did you also know that the way your leader behaves is a direct reflection of how you follow? And therefore, we're a reflection of each other. The phone lines are now open. Let's get interactive. Pick up that phone, give me a call, or send me a message on WhatsApp. Numbers to call 0302 216 541. I beg your pardon, that's 0302 216 541. I want to hear what you have to say. If you're driving, please don't call or text while you drive because we want you to arrive alive. But otherwise, pick up that phone, give me a call, 0302 216 541, or send me a comment on 055 997. I've got my first comment on social media. This one is from Hersey. Hersey says, "Good afternoon. Is micromanaging good? I realize that when I'm being micromanaged, it kills my initiative. So as a manager, I try not to micromanage my team. But my immediate supervisor does it to me. Thanks, Hersey." Hersey, thank you for coming through. Can we just quickly respond to Hersey? And then we'll take a few more comments while we wait for the phone lines to ring.
Okay, thank you very much, Hersey. Micromanaging, it depends on the situation. I wouldn't say is the best because it doesn't allow the employee to be able to use his full potential, and it depresses the employee. So I can understand the situation she's in. But somebody will micromanage because he wants the work to be done and done to a certain perfection. But if you use the facilitative style, you don't have to micromanage. Or even if you do micromanage, your employee will see we are working on this thing together. We'll be even happy to do something and come and show it to you and say, this is where we are at, and then we move to the next level. So you facilitate and allow the employee's potential to come out. But if you micromanage at every step of the way, you will lose your employee.
So it's not the best, but what we're saying is that let's also review the situation that exists, which may or may not have caused that to happen. I've got Edmond from North Legon. Edmond says, "Good afternoon, Masterclass. Excellent presentation. Kindly assist me to find responses to the following questions in leadership." He goes on to say, what kind of leadership style should be recommended for organizations that are customer service oriented? Let's take that one first. Customer service oriented, very quickly. I think we don't have a lot of time. What kind of leadership style should be recommended for organizations that are customer service oriented?
So organizations that are customer service oriented, meaning that the staff themselves will be client facing.
Exactly.
So if I'm leading a team that is client facing, I have to be able to let them appreciate the fact that they have to be people oriented, relationship oriented. So that is how I will look at it. So I will, for me, leading them, I will get close to them, speak to them, allow us to be able to build relationships with.
So it will be more of a facilitative kind of approach.
It would also be a facilitative. You see why I like that approach, because it allows the
There's dexterity. You're able to move it around and make it fit.
And make the effect, because you're teaching them, and then you even learn from the situation and then build the specific kind of style that you want to drive.
Right. Second question, it says, what kind of leadership style is most suitable for consistently poor performing corporate organizations?
Interesting.
It's a bit of an ambiguous question because it depends on what they're doing as a corporate, isn't it? But generally, can we help him?
Yeah, you see,
Generally.
For an organization, you look at it and you see where your performance is. Maybe you are not performing only because people are not focusing on the tasks. Maybe you're not performing not because they're not, but they are not focusing on the people, because you need people to be able to deliver on the tasks. So depending on the willingness and unwillingness of the people to deliver, you will actually have to match what kind of leadership style that you need to use. So it cannot be one hat fits all. You need to be able to assess the people and then assess the tasks that needs to be done.
Having said that, the reaction for most corporates this side, in this country, I say most corporates guidedly, forgive me if you're not one of those corporates, is to crack the whip. Whenever there's poor performance, we crack the whip and then we get down to it and we start micromanaging everybody. And I think that's a question that Edmond is asking, that if you can't get it done, I will do it for you, which is where Hersey was also coming from. So our experience is that when there's continuous poor performance, there's micromanagement. But should that be the right thing?
You see, you find out there's a challenge somewhere there, because you're cracking the whip, but you're not focusing on the employee engagement. Are your employees engaged? Because when they are engaged, they will perform even better than what they will do when you crack the whip.
Engage them. When you speak to their hearts, you get more from them. When you force them, they do only what you ask, and they leave it.
And they leave it. So whilst you want them to deliver, you are looking at your corporate value proposition. You need to consider the employee's value proposition as well, and they will work with their hearts and their minds.
I see. So have a bit of control, but don't be too also easy on them, because when you are easy, you get close to abdicating, and then you're not there. So a fair balance is needed.
Yes. Okay. So easy on them doesn't even mean abdicating. You are actually ensuring that the tasks are delivered. Remember the executive style. You are ensuring that the tasks are delivered. However, you are also making sure that your people orientation is working very well.
The last one, it says, what kind of leadership style is required for leading people on the African continent? I hear a prejudice in that question, Edmund.
You know why I'm laughing? We've had discussions on this, and people are saying that we shouldn't even have a democracy. We should have a monarchy, and then just listen to the king, and then but people are people.
But the context is the African continent.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to say. Is that people are people. I mean, whether they are in Africa, they are in Europe, they are everywhere. These are people, and there are ways to work with people to be able to get value from them.
Let me throw this in the spokes, and it's just to represent the other side of the conversation. So I have been at a leadership conversation table like this, and I've argued that there are different types of leadership. So let's say that what the United States does is laissez-faire, democracy. A few other countries, ascribe to it. What China does is the extreme opposite. They are both at the table. They are both on the G8. They are both strong economies. In fact, China's economy today is bigger than the US. And they have a fewer ministers of state than the US has. What type of leadership? Force me to, if you like, don't do it. Sleep at 6 o'clock. If you like, don't sleep at 6 o'clock. Okay. It works. It gets the results. Or, you need to sleep at 6 o'clock because you see if you're on the streets, it causes the street to wear off and all that. I'm not saying answer you today. I'm just throwing it in.
I hear you. I was also going to be the host and throw you a question to say, which of the two countries are probably happy? The people.
Who cares about happiness? I'm just asking. I'm not saying I believe it. Please, it does not represent my personal. Are we getting the job done?
Thank you very much. Yes.
It's a big conversation.
Yes.
I think that people have sentiments about this whole thing, the styles of leadership and all that.
Exactly.
And that's where Edmond is coming
Exactly. You have to get the job done. But in order to get the job done, you need to use the people to get the job done. Yeah. Somebody will use the carrot, somebody will use the stick. Yeah. Somebody will use both to get the job done. Ultimately, the job has to get done.
Okay, this one, you didn't add your name. It says, what's the best way for a leader to get financial support for a company? I'm not too sure how. Okay. But it's a question there all the same. I've got a few more minutes to take a phone call if anyone can slip one through. 0302216541. Or you can also send your comments on 05511111997. Styles of leadership. What's your personal experience? Are you a follower? Are you a leader? What's going on in your environment, in your company? How are you leading? How are you being led? Pick up that phone. Give us a call. 0302216541. Or send us your comments on 05511111997. Yes. He says, what's the best way for a leader to get financial support for a company?
I don't know whether
I suppose go to the sources, isn't it? But I guess he wants to see the use of the styles of leadership. If you were, let's say, an autocratic leader, would you, I don't know, I guess he wants to draw some lines between people being risk averse and being reckless.
And being reckless.
You know, and going for a loan every time or building it gradually.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that if I was an investor, yes, you can try and draw the line. If I was an investor, I want to see how long this organization will survive, and maybe your style of leadership, it will be running the business, to the bottom. So you want to see a leader who is building others, a leader who is leading them, allowing people to, because these days we have moved from career building to talent management. So people's talents should be able to be seen. If I see that you are developing people's talents, etc., then I'll be more inclined to say I can give you money, I can invest in you because your business is going to survive much longer. So that brings us back to the facilitative leader.
I remember last week you were talking about conscious incompetence.
Absolutely.
Is that the same as apathy?
Conscious incompetence can be apathy. You know that you don't know, and you're not doing anything about it.
You can't be bothered.
But if you know you don't know, it's a good point, because then you can actually start doing something about it.
It's a good place to start.
Exactly. Because it is the action, the position is there, but the action that you have to take, whether you just sit or do something about it, makes the difference.
Okay, I think there was another question here I picked up earlier on in the week on social media. It says, does temperament determine the leadership style which is suitable for a situation?
Yes, I think maybe next week when we get a time, we'll look at the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and that is one area of looking at different personalities and how they impact on leadership. But yes, it can impact on your leadership style. Because the example I gave the last time is that if you just look at the extraversion and introversion, and you can have a leader who is an introvert, another one who is extroverted, one who likes to work with people, and one who does not like to work with people. Definitely, it will impact on the style that he has.
Okay, so this one just came to me while you were talking. Can one be a leader if they do not like confrontation?
I think that...
Can there be leadership without confrontation? I suppose the same question.
I don't. If you're too nice, you might not be able to. So there will be confrontation. It's how you deal with the confrontation. But somebody can deal with confrontation in a very nice way, and it's been dealt with.
Do you think that generally, in your experience with Stratcom, with AngloGold, with all the companies you've worked with, generally this side of the world, and I'm talking this side because these are my people. We're starting from here. Do we have a deficiency when it comes to confrontation handling? While we're talking about leadership, as business owners, as leaders, as managers,
as Ghanaians.
As Ghanaians, do we handle confrontation effectively?
It looks like Ghana is kind of synonymous to Famanyami. So we'll give it to God. So that that deficiency is there, and you find that those who manage to handle confrontation, they kind of surface, at the top, and they manage to drive and make decisions and not be bothered whether the decisions are going to impact on the people or not. But it's the way you manage it. I've seen a leader managing situations that either could have been a confrontation, on somebody's aspect, but he's managed to carry it along and gotten the same result and solution. So it doesn't have to be a shouting match, but it can be managed.
Interesting. What's our takeout from our conversation today on leadership styles, and what should we look forward to in our conversation next week?
I believe that leadership styles, for all the ones that we've mentioned, all depends on the situation. The bottom line is we want to get the job done. And how are you going to get the job done? You need your followers to get the job done. And depending whether your followers are willing and able, unwilling and unable, you have to structure your style, to be able to drive them to get the job done, and then you'll be successful.
Right. Next week, we continue the same conversation, God willing.
Yes.
What should we look forward to in the conversation for next week?
Next week, we should look forward to how we can assess you can assess yourself as a leader, and therefore knowing where you stand. We'll look at a 360-degree assessment, and then we'll use that to say how can you use that to develop yourself or to move forward as a leader. And then if we have some more time, we can look at what the autocratic leader is.
Interesting. Beautiful thoughts shared. Maybe I'll just close with a statement that Alexander the Great shared. And it always just resonates with me so strong. Just, I am not afraid of a pack of lions led by a sheep, but I am afraid of a pack of sheep
led by a
lion. What kind of leadership style are you using in your place of work? Is it getting you the results? We'll continue this conversation, God willing, next week. Masterclass today was brought to us by Goyle. It's a good energy, yeah, and also by Lancaster University, the only British university campus in all of West Africa. Next week, God willing, we come your way again with another exciting edition of Masterclass. Thank you so much for joining us, and see